Have you identified your business or product competitors and dismissed them or feared them? Are you in competitor denial? There is a cure. It's called a competitive strategy. It's a long-term plan that's designed to help your business increase your market share and overpower your rivals. The result? Competitive advantage. Wait, there's more good news. When you follow or execute the competitive strategy, you'll build a sustainable competitive advantage and most likely be more profitable and superior values for your customers, which again is a competitive advantage. So now that you're ready to take your business to the next level, to get outcomes like increased revenue, margins and market share, let me introduce you to the man that can make it happen. Michael Field from Everett Field Partners, Competitive Strategy Consultants. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
Now, there is a pressing question that you help business owners and leaders answer. Do you remember that question?
I do.
Okay, give it to me.
Sure. What do you do differently or better than your competitors that your customers care so deeply about they're prepared to pay a premium?
Right. And the many discussions that we have had, clearly, when you talk about competitive strategy, it's a plan.
Yes.
Right, it's a plan. But part of that plan is to recognise the strengths and the weaknesses and to acknowledge your competitors and what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah, it's important that you take them seriously and not dismiss them. It's very easy to get caught up in the enthusiasm of your business and believe that you're better in all areas, better service, better products, better people, better experience, whatever else. But your competitors aren't going to market saying we're okay with modest people and okay products. They're going to market saying exactly the same things. So in terms of a prospective customer who's considering you as a brand, if they've not had any proof points of dealing with you, you all look the same. So importantly, you need to acknowledge your competitors, but you actually need to really deeply understand what are their strongholds, what are the parts of their business that you may not be able to topple, and what's the weak underbelly where you can exploit competitive advantage and gain margin and market share.
Well, where your company, Everett Field, lives and where it works, you say, unless you're a genuine disruptor bringing something groundbreaking to the market, the reality is this. Most markets are congested with competitors, each with an owner that is equally motivated and they want their business to succeed at your expense.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the difference here. So you are used to looking after clients who have products that are plentiful. And
yes.
you've used the example of doorknobs
yes.
when we've had conversations
yes.
before, right?
Yeah.
Like how many people make doorknobs?
Look, all businesses are increasingly in highly contested or highly congested markets, and product differentiation is very, very difficult. Occasionally you can get it, occasionally there's a standout product, but in the customer's mind, the world is absolutely occupied with choices for them. They've got the freedom to spend their money wherever they want. Depending on what business you're in, one of the main choices they've got is to do nothing. They can keep their money in their pocket. So they've got no compelling reason to give their money to you, and you need to create that reason, and you need to create that through differentiation. And
is phones another example?
Phones is a good one. I mean, the iPhone was revolutionary, for example, and now it's, there are many manufacturers of smartphones.
There's choices, right? There's a lot of choices and much for muchness in some areas of their apps or their applications or how many cameras they've got on their camera.
Yeah, the thing I think that's interesting is that there's quite a number of moving parts to it, but one of them would be brand. So people used to argue, well, we're going to fight on brand, but before people are going to emotionally connect with your product, it needs to meet their functional, technical and economic requirements. So one of the things that moved a lot of people away from, say, the Apple product as an example, is that the functional, technical and economic benefits from alternative products outweighed what Apple could give them. So the brand wasn't strong enough to defend against those things. And that's true in all markets. I mean, our specialisation is not consumer marketing, it's B2B.
That's
but
right.
If you look at products going into something like building and construction or agriculture or mining or manufacturing, these things are commoditised. There's hundreds of suppliers, the product is readily available, it's a fight to the bottom with price, and if you want to build a sustainable business that's got margins that are attractive to you and pays you for your effort, well then you're going to need to do more than just go out and say, me too,
so you need
we've got one too.
A defensible position, don't you? You need to be able to set up some defence.
Yes.
so that you can compete in some way. And as you say, it can be a race to the bottom. That's not good for anyone, and it's certainly not a sustainable business when you present it that way.
No, it doesn't meet. We primarily work with private businesses, with family businesses, and it certainly doesn't meet the expectation of the business owner. And it sort of collapses their ambitions of when they started the business, because they started the business very often to build a future for themselves and their family. They spend 10, 20 years working so hard, and they see enterprise value just being decimated. Although we don't work at the exit end of the business, we work to build enterprise value so that when that owner decides to leave, and sometimes that choice isn't their own, sometimes other things force them to leave the business.
Age, lack of succession planning, all sorts of things.
Yes.
But as you've said, enterprise value is very, very another point we should highlight, because you want to add value to your business, and if you do have a succession plan or you want to sell your business or get it valued, you need to have something else built in to show that there's a future or there's another plan for what you're doing. Why is strategy development a challenge for businesses, particularly if they want to try and do it in-house? Because we've had this discussion too about people doing it themselves.
Yeah, there's
just them and the whiteboard.
Yes. I've got some strong views on that. I think whiteboards lie, whiteboards lie because it collects what you currently know, and it might repackage that, it might reconfigure that, but it just collects what you know, and it's still in the bubble of your own business.
Because you're standing in front of the board going, okay, what are we doing?
What
have we got?
Yeah, they're often led by the business owner, and the sales team is sitting in there, and it's not in anyone's best interest, depending on the dynamic in the business, for the salespeople to say, actually, I don't think our product's as good as it should be, because that's a career-limiting move for them. So basically what happens is you get this echo chamber of self-congratulatory sort of, this is what we're good at, and this is what we're going to lead at, and we're strong in this, and it's sort of beating the drum, and it more represents a motivation G-up session than a genuine independent assessment of the fact base. And the most compelling fact base is, what are your customers doing? And if your customers are spending money somewhere else, then your value proposition is not resonating with them. The proof point is in the sales data. So if all of these things were true, why aren't you leading the market? Why are you only winning 1 in 3 deals? Why does the sales autopsy tell me that what happened is we lost that deal because the other guy was cheaper? Well, it means that our value proposition wasn't properly communicated and articulated. So, yeah, look,
doing it in-house is
it's not a bad starting point, and I commend people for doing it.
Okay.
I really do. It's I would prefer them to do that than nothing. But the most valuable insight that you get is when you talk to a customer in an independent, unbiased way. You don't defend their criticisms. You don't defend against them, and you just seek to understand. Tell me what good looks like to you. Tell me where we're failing. Tell me why you would choose one provider over another. Help me understand your buying process, and then assembling your business to satisfy that. It sounds really simple. Very few businesses do it. Because
then you start to get reality, real data, real solid research to say, okay, well, here's what it is right now, and you need to do this to fix it.
Yes.
But before we get into detail on that, because you have some things like kryptonite and the invisible buying committee that I want to get to.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about your background.
Okay.
You're an ad exec in a previous life for newspapers.
Yes.
What else have you done in your other life? Before you became Evatt Field Consultancy, Strategy Consultants, there was another life.
Sure. 7 years in newspapers. That taught me the value of editorial, that people pick up newspapers not for ads, they pick it up to get content that's relevant to them, and that content is segmented based on their interests. So there's motor vehicles, there's real estate, there's general
sport,
news, there's social.
Yep.
So people don't pick it up for the ads, they pick it up for meaningful content. So that has absolutely informed our go-to-market strategy for ourselves and our clients.
You've been involved in online businesses or setting up online marketing.
Yes.
Before Google came along.
Well, Google was around, but it was not known. So we launched an online business directory in 98, 99 to compete with the Yellow Pages. Back then, Yellow Pages was A to K, L to Z. It was the dominant advertising medium for small to medium businesses. They took a ton of money out of the market, and we decided we wanted to tackle that. And Google, nobody really knew what it was. So we built an online business directory. There were 1.2 million Australian businesses. We segmented them by 1,800 categories, and we worked out, I guess, a strategy to capture advertising dollars online to make online marketing accessible to small businesses.
So it's a great part of your background in the lead up to the competitive consultancy.
Yes.
And the strategy component of it. So you've had that good grounding in different types of marketing. You understand that concept. Then you've been able to sort of take that, what used to be the right way of doing things with marketing was to get real information, real data, because marketing was based more on data and formula previously, not on how many likes you got on Facebook.
Yes.
So you've had that great grounding. There's other parts to the business and the modules and the way that you break down what you do for your clients. But tell us about the HubSpot partnership.
Sure.
That's a new great part.
It is. HubSpot is a very muscular piece of software that can, if you can think in a sophisticated way about customer segments, content and buying cycles, if you can think through it in that way, HubSpot gives you the capacity to deliver to what your plan is. So if you think about a good example would be, if you look at in building and construction, we sort of talked about doorknobs as a fun example, but there's quite a few people in that buying cycle. There's the architect, the specifier, there's the estimator, there's the builder, there's the project manager, there's the installer, there's the person who actually owns the building, and then the person who's going to occupy it. They're all have really, really different needs.
And you call them the invisible buying committee, don't you?
Yes, because the person who sells the product might only be speaking to procurement. They might have a single point and they think that they've got a deal on the table, but there's all these other people in that buying cycle who say, well, actually, we don't think that they've got a good enough corporate social responsibility statement, so we don't want that provider.
They might not, I don't want to buy from that company.
Yes.
Not necessarily, I don't want that doorknob, but there's another reason why people are influenced.
Yes.
And that's the other thing that you address, this invisible buying committee. You say, as part of the strategy, we need to get to them as well, because that's how you do have a good defence.
Yeah, firstly, you need to genuinely understand what's driving them, and that can be things that are not obvious.
Yeah, like the FSG or the ESG, if people want to buy from a good corporate responsible being, they're green or they care about equal pay, diversity, etc.
Yes.
Different things influence us in different ways.
Yeah, the local councils in Victoria for quite a few years have put equal weighting on corporate social responsibility as they have to price.
And in New South Wales, I will say, that's starting to come through, so that's a good thing. Okay, let's actually talk about the discovery workshops.
Sure.
That you run, and you operate this in a module where it can be a standalone piece that your clients can do to kind of see a way around what you would present. It's a short form and literally as an introduction, but it's a discovery workshop.
Yeah, it's designed to give people the opportunity to examine what they're working on in a minimum viable product sort of outlook, to say, look, we don't necessarily want to take on a heavy-duty piece of research in customers or competitors or market dynamics. We really just want the shaping foundation to understand our market a bit more. So that can be done. That can be done for the beginning process of a competitive strategy, or that could be done for, say, a startup or a new product idea. Somebody says, we come up with this product idea, we're thinking about it, can you help us shape some thinking around it? So we will bring our best expertise from that industry and the best expertise of competitive strategy into that workshop. We'll walk in there very well informed. We'll use that time to try and fill the gaps of what do you need for a competitive strategy, and what drops out of the back of that is really a workflow of what's next, and people have got the option then to sort of, it's like a breadcrumb trail to say, okay, I think I'm ready to take the next bite.
Yeah.
And we think that a more staged approach gives people more choices, and it actually makes it more accessible for smaller businesses, startups, or for somebody who's maybe innovating in a new product and they don't have a ton of resource to apply to learning more about it.
Or businesses that might need time to get their people on board and behind doing something like that.
Yes.
It's a soft, and when you've done all of that, you go back again to the client to do the pressure test of what you've got, of the report to present to them. So they also get a chance to have a look and push back or ask or delve a bit deeper, and then that way they feel like it's quite a rounded off process?
Yeah, I think prior to consulting, which I've been doing for 10 or 12 years, I was on the buy side of consultants, and one of the huge frustrations is you get a report sent to you and it's a kind of a pat on the back and good luck sort of thing.
Thank you, see you later.
and to me, I'm not buying a report, I'm trying to buy insights, and I'm trying to buy action and trying to buy what next.
And that needs a discussion.
It absolutely needs two-way, because the customer needs the opportunity to pressure test it with you and probe and poke. They might actually correct some misgivings or findings that they say, well, actually, that's not right. Well, thank you for that, because they are expert in their business.
Yep.
You know, we have a methodology.
That's right.
But
You don't call yourself an expert. Yeah.
Not in a fit.
The client is the expert in their world.
Yes.
And acknowledging that, I think that goes a long way to giving them some confidence too, and not feeling constantly insecure about what they're doing.
We get a lot of feedback on that. It's worth noting that a lot of people say that there's one organisation, they're a furniture manufacturer here in New South Wales, and they said we only have 2 consultants in our business, and that's our accountant and our lawyer. We don't know that every time we've tried to work with consultants before, they've been so sort of conceited and dismissive of what we're doing, and they've been so kind of heavy-handed. And you've come in with I guess a sense of curiosity and a sense of humility around what they're doing, because they're amazing at what they do.
It's about respect.
Yeah, and we're just bringing a process which attends to one part of their business. You know, we're an inch wide and a mile deep on competitive strategy, and they do all these other amazing things that honestly I couldn't do. So, you know, I commend them, and I'm kind of as much in awe of them as they are of the work that we do sometimes. And
we do have to wrap this up, but I want to make sure that we talk about organisational superpowers, kryptonite, and the competitive cauldron, because these are your words, this is your terminology.
Yes.
So you want to find out what the superpower is of the business, right?
Yes, and it's often not what the customer thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they often go to market with generic claims and, you know, price product, you know, so price range, whatever else. And when we talk to their customers, the customer will generally say, actually, the reason I buy from this organisation is because they do that.
And that's the superpower.
That's the superpower.
What about their kryptonite? That's
the kryptonite.
That's a big green thing that comes out for Superman. We know that.
Yeah.
But that shows where the gaps are or where their weaknesses are.
Yeah, and often their growth targets exceed their capability. So they say, oh, well, we're going to advance into this market, or we want to extend into this product set.
Yeah.
But if you look at what is required to do that, and it's not their strong point, they're better off doubling down on what they're good at and seeking growth there, rather than extending into things that they're not going to be able to be as competitive in. So sometimes the kryptonite...
And wasting time and resources.
Yeah, sometimes the kryptonite might just be sort of unbridled ambition of, you know, of growth, and sometimes it's a real dysfunctional attribute to the way they deliver their service, and they need to hear about that. They need to know about it, and they need to fix it, and they particularly need to fix it before they invest in a heavy marketing campaign, because all they're going to do is compound a problem.
And there's a competitive cauldron. That's the landscape where there are hot spots and cool spots, so you know where to direct your efforts.
Yeah, the thing I find interesting about that is that in the whiteboard sessions, people say, well, these are all of our strengths and those are our customers, so let's go get them.
Yep.
And then everyone claps and sort of, you know, walks out of the room.
Yes.
But there is the competitive crosswinds of people whose their entire purpose for being is to take market share from you and sell to them.
Yeah.
So unless you genuinely recognise that what I call the competitive cauldron, to say, you know, when you get your competitive strategy superpower and you dip it through that acid bath, does it come out intact or does it look really quite shaggy? And if it comes out shaggy, we need to rebuild it, and we keep rebuilding it and testing it with your customers until they're happy. And then when you've got that as closed user group, the customers say that's what we want and you can do it, then you absolutely drive for market share. So
for your organisational superpowers and to make sure that you survive the competitive cauldron, clearly it's Everett Field Strategy Consultancy. Okay. If you haven't subscribed, you need to. To the Piedmont Studio, thank you for making us look and sound great. And to the SMEA Association for your efforts and support. We appreciate and applaud them. If you have any tips, tricks, comments or stories, you know what to do. Send them straight to me. news@smea.org.au, and of course we're across all the socials too. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.